Thank you, Wendell, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Regional News. We start off with some news in neighboring Brazil, where the President Jair Bolsonaro said on Sunday that lockdown measures used to curb the spread of the novel coronavirus kill and have suffocated the country's economy. And I quote, "Without salaries and jobs, people die," end of quote, he said, referring to restrictions imposed by some states and municipalities. Lockdown kills, he added, saying that some politicians have suffocated the economy with forced curfews. The president's statement comes as Brazil's economy is expected to contract 6.4% this year, hit by the pandemic. Bolsonaro, who announced he tested positive for COVID-19 on July 7, met his supporters in the grounds of his official residence, the Alvorada Palace in Brasilia. The president was wearing a mask and kept some meters of distance from his supporters. Bolsonaro said he is feeling well despite the virus and again credited his health to the use of hydroxychloroquine to fight COVID-19 despite no scientific evidence. And I quote, "I am a living proof that the drug works," end of quote, he told supporters. Besides hydroxychloroquine, the far-right president said he is also taking an anti-parasite drug to fight coronavirus. Brazil registered 28,532 new confirmed cases of the novel coronavirus and 921 new deaths on Saturday, the health ministry said. Total cases in Brazil, the world's second most affected country after the United States, have now risen to 2,074,860, while deaths total 78,772. And now for some news in Cuba. For the first time in 130 days yesterday, there were no new domestic cases of COVID-19 as most of the country moved into the final phase of resuming normal activities with masks and social distancing. Francisco Duran, head of epidemiology at the Ministry of Public Health and who has updated the country daily on the pandemic, took off his mask during the national broadcast for only the second time, deliver the good news. Duran on Saturday did the same, reporting just a single domestic case in Havana. Only a handful of COVID-19 cases were reported in Cuba over the last week, all in Havana. Most of the Caribbean island, home to 11.2 million inhabitants, has been free of the disease for more than a month. The capital's 2.2 million residents remain at the first phase of 3 stages of reopening, where they can once more move around on public and private transport, go to the beach and other recreational centers, and enjoy a seaside drive just in time for the summer break. They can also dine and have a drink. Each phase allows capacity venues to increase from an initial 60%. Interprovincial transportation begins during Phase 2, while Phase 3 includes schools reopening. Social distancing and wearing masks remain mandatory in most circumstances. And finally, in the small island of Trinidad and Tobago, corruption at the hands of the state officials and law enforcement officers is a significant factor in the facilitation of human trafficking between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago, according to some of the findings of a 2019 CARICOM human trafficking study. According to investigations carried out in the Venezuelan town of Topita, which included interviews with human traffickers, some of the gangs in the region are headed and operated by law enforcement officers from Trinidad and Tobago. The research carried out by researcher Dr. Justine Pierre gathered information from traffickers, smugglers, victims, law enforcement officers, as well as from anti-human trafficking organizations in more than 32 countries. One Venezuelan trafficker indicated that through his connection with elements in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, he has been assured of protection by officers who advise him where to enter the country. He also claimed that the officers provide security for the safe houses where the women are kept before they are carried across Trinidad and Tobago in trucks, cars, maxi taxis, and vans. Another trafficker confirmed the claims, saying that he had been working with a police officer from Trinidad and Tobago who pays him to provide women for his TNT-based organization. Admitting that he was part of a gang that specialized in kidnapping Venezuelans and carrying them to Trinidad and Tobago, he said the officer, a constable, is a member of an organized South American crime network. He said they worked together to bring across the women, where they were forced to work in many instances as sex slaves and prostitutes. To support his claims, he showed the research team the officer's cell phone number. He also provided a series of correspondence between the two of them, demonstrating that discussions were about human trafficking activities. When approached by the research team, the accused officer denied the allegations, saying he has never been a member of a gang. And that is it for our region news this evening, and I continue to urge our supporters and viewers to wear those masks, continue practicing social distancing, and use those hand sanitizers. Back to you, Wendell.